Yes. For a contamination from the following sources of tumah, the Nazir must shave for a corpse, or an olive's bulk of a corpse, or a kazayah's bulk of netzel, or a ladle full of decayed corpse, or the spinal column, or the skull, or a limb severed from a corpse, or a limb severed from a living body that has on it sufficient flesh, or half a chav of bones, or half a log of blood, whether their contamination is transmitted by contact, carrying, or a roof, and for tumor from the bone of the size of a barley grain. Whether its contamination is transmitted by contact or by carrying, for these a Nazir shaves, sprinkles on the third and seventh day, forfeits the previous days, and does not resume counting until he becomes tahor and brings the sacrifices. But for tumor transmitted by branchy canopies or protrusions, or a field in which a grave has been plowed over, or the land of the nations, or the coffin cover, or the coffin, or a quarter log of blood, or a tent, or a quarter cup of bones, or utensils that touch a corpse, or the days of a Mitzorah's counting, or the days of his confirmed saras. For these the Nazir does not shave, but is sprinkled on the third and seventh days, and he does not forfeit the preceding days. And he begins to count right away, and he has no sacrifice. In truth, they said, the days of a Zav or a Zava, and the days of the confinement of the Mitzorah, these are counted for him. Rabbi Eliezer said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, any tumor from a corpse for which a Nazir shaves, one is liable because of it for entering the temple. And for any tumor from a corpse for which a Nazir does not shave, one is not liable for it for entering the temple. Rabbi Meir said, this should not be more lenient than tumor contracted from a creeping thing. Rabbi Akiva said, I reasoned before Rabbi Eliezer, if for a bone the size of a barley grain, which does not contaminate a person by way of a roof, the Nazir shaves for touching it or carrying it. For a quarter log of blood, which contaminates a person even by the way of a roof, it is not clear that a Nazir should shave for touching it or carrying it. He said to me, what is this, Akiva? We cannot reason here by a Kalmakoma. When I came and related these things to Rabbi Yeshua, he said to me, you have spoken well, but so have they said as an oral law.
Okay. All right, so Perikhes has got two Mishnayos in it, and they're both kind of mean. Okay. So the first case that we come up with is Shnei Nazirim she'amar lahen echad. So you got two guys who became Nazirim, and at the same time. So they're together, they're friends, they're doing whatever the matzav is, and somebody comes up to them from afar and says, hey, you guys, I saw you guys were walking along the path over there, and there was a dead lizard fell down the tree and bounced off one of you. I didn't see which one of you, but one of you has been touched by a dead lizard, by dead sherets. No, sorry, not it can't be sherets. I'm making a bad case because we're talking about it's got to be a tumas mace. It's got to be a so let's just say one of you can't have, it's got to be a literal tumor. It can't just even be walking over a grave because a grave doesn't reset the clock. We've got to have a case where there was a tumor that I can't work out a practical case of this actually, but let's just imagine that this happened, that one guy comes up and says, I saw that one of you for sure became tameh. But I was far away. I couldn't see that what happened. So we have a general principle that tumah b'rishus harabim is sveiko tahor, and in b'rishus hayachid sveiko tameh. So we learn this from Sota, that when a Sota is secluded by definition. So it's a safek whether she did or didn't, and unless all these halachas take place, and she's assumed to be tameh in that respect. So when that's how you can remember that if the doubt arose in a private domain, then we have to be concerned for the tumah. Then it's okay. Whereas if a doubt arose in the public domain, then the safek is tahor.
So here we are in a whether he's saying
now, these two guys must have been in a secluded place, And the third, and the interesting thing is that the third person, normally three people, turns something into Rishus Harabim in terms of Tumah. So we have to say that the third guy was far away.
Right. So here we have two people walking, and this other person says that
The third person comes and says, "Hey, I know that one of you two became Tameh. I didn't see which one, but I know that one of you did."
Was he's there?
So it's a suffix whether it's Reuven or Shimon. One of them, they know for sure that one of them became Tameh.
So, but they're in a Shusha Rabin here.
So they must have been in Rishus Yachid.
Yachid, because only two people. You're saying?
It must have been in Rishus Yachid, because otherwise we'd say Svek or Tahor. Each one would say, "No, I'm Tahor," and the other would say, "No, I'm Tahor."
Right. That's what I was asking. Right. So,
but now each one of them has to be concerned that maybe they're the one that's Tameh because the Tumah happened in Rishus Yachid.
So there's a suffix here. There's a suffix here because we don't know which one is Tameh.
Right. Okay.
They don't know. We don't know.
Each one of them has to act as if it's possible that they themselves are the one that became Tameh. So now, what's going to happen with these guys? They're in a bit of a pickle, because so what should they do at the end of 30 days? Well, here are the things on the side for each one of them. On the side that he's Tameh, then what has he got to do? He's got to bring a tiblachas tumah. Okay, right. He's going to have to do a shave and bring a korban of tumah. Okay, and then he's going to have to. So first of all, he has to become tahor.
Because he needs to paraduma
and whatever, and become tahor again. Then he shaves and brings his korban to the mikdash, and then he starts his count again. Okay. But if on the tzad that he's tahor, he's not allowed to shave until he's completed his 30 days. So even if this happens like on the third day, let's say. So in both of them, let's say this happens like on the third day of the Nazirus. So now what's
the first Nazirus, the third day of the first Nazirus.
The third day of the first Nazirus.
Right.
Okay. So now both of them are going to have to say, well, look, if I'm Tameh, then I need to go through paraduma stuff. So they both have to go through the paraduma and tovel and go get sprinkled on the third and seventh day and then tovel. Okay, but they can't shave yet because maybe they're still Nazir, and then it's an Issa Doras to shave. So and then they get to the 30th day. Okay, now they can shave, because if he's a if he was tahor, then this is his tiklachas atara, and if he was tamei, then it's his tiklachas atuma. Okay, so what happens? We get to the 30th day. Megalfin may be in korban tuma or korban tara. So they bring two sets of korbanos, right? One for tuma, one for tara. Because one of them for sure has to bring a korban tuma, and one has to bring a korban tara. Great. The Omer, imani hu hatame korban tuma sheli korban tara shelach. And he says, okay, and they make it tonight when they bring these korbanos. So if I was the one who was tamei, then the korban tuma is mine and the korban tara is yours, and vice versa. I mean, ani hu hatara korban tara sheli korban tuma shelach. Okay, so we do it tonight on the first set of korbanos. And now they keep a second set of 30 days. Okay, in which both of them are noheg as Nazirim. Because maybe each of them was tamei and they haven't really completed the Nazirus. Umevin korban tara, and now at the end of the 30 days, jointly they bring a korban tara, and again they bring it tonight. Im ani hu hatame korban tuma sheli korban tara shalach v'zeh korban tara. See, v'im ani hu hatahor korban tara sheli korban tuma shalach v'zeh korban tara saf. Okay, and if so, basically based on who was it who became tamei, then this is their korban now. Okay. Now, that's all great if everything else was fine, but what happens if in the interim, if in that first 30 days when they've just discovered the suffix or whatever, one of them dies? Okay, now things get really complicated, because it's fine, you can bring the korban al tanai because you had the suffix and whatever, but you can't bring a korban al tanai for somebody who's dead. because you can't put something on the mizbeach for somebody who's dead.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So now what do you do? All right. Well,
First
Rabbi
guy,
Yeshua-
first guy doesn't know. He's the tummy. One of the other ones tummy.
Yeah.
Tummy. So that's the problem. Then I can't do anything for the other guy because he's dead.
Right. So now I don't know. Was I the guy who was tame, or was it the other guy who was tame?
Right.
Okay. So now Rabbi Yeshua has a suggestion. He says, okay, so let him go and find a friend. Just take some random guy from the shuk
I hear it
or a
coming.
friend, and have his friend get him out of this trouble, and let his friend become a Nazir al Tanai. Okay, why? Okay, and he says if he says if I was the person who became Tameh, then you are a Nazir immediately. Okay, the Imtahor, how you see, but if I was Tahor, then you'll only be a Nazir after 30 days. Well, after
30 days.
After 30 days, because he wants to make sure, he wants to bring himself out of the Sabbath. Okay, so what does he do? So he gets to the end of his period of Naziris, who may be in Korban Tumah with Korban Tara. So now they do the same trick: one Korban Tumah, one Korban Tara, and he says, Im ani hu tameh. So if I was the guy who became tameh, Korban Tumah sheli, then the Korban Tumah is mine. But Korban Tara shelach. And now, my friend, you've just completed your Naziris, because that was the Tanai that you made. You just completed your Naziris, and the Korban Tara is yours. Okay. But if I was the one who was Tahor, then the Korban Tara is mine. The Korban Tumah b'safek, and we're bringing the Korban Tumah b'safek. Okay, so what does that mean? If the Korban Tumah is brought b'safek, then the asham the ola can still go on the mizbeach. That's fine. Then the chatas and the asham just can't be eaten. They can put the blood on the mizbeach, but the kohanim aren't allowed to eat it because maybe it's not a valid korban.
Right.
Yeah. And now they count Sofri and Shloshim Yom, and now we count another 30 days. Okay, so now at the end of 30 days, one of them is only one of them now is a Nazir. They've been Korban Tara, and now they just bring one Korban Tara at the end, and Omer Imani hu atame Korban Tuma sheli Korban Tara shelach Korban Tara. See, so if I was Tame, then this is my Korban Tara now. Vim ani hu atahor, and if I'm the Tahor one, then this is yours. A Korban Tara sheli Korban Tuma b'sadek Korban Tara. Okay. So this is Rabbi Yeshua's suggestion. Find a friend who's prepared to be a Nazir for 60 days with you.
Right.
Amar Ben Zoma. So Ben Zoma looks at it and says, "Come on, Nazir. Where are you going to find somebody who's going to agree to this mishigas? That's not. You can't say that he's got no other eitzah except to find somebody who's going to agree with him. What if nobody agrees with him? What if nobody agrees to go along with this trick? Ella, simple. Maybe chatasa off olas behema. They didn't bring a chatasa off, but he must bring an olas behema, because why? A chatasa off can be brought the Safek, and an ola of behema you can only bring when you're bringing an ola as a voluntary offering. It must be a behema. Why ola behema? Okay, so this is for So he's bringing the chatas off for the korban on the Safek Tumas Naziris. That might be the whole thing is besafek. So the chatas off, he says, is for the Safek of Tuma of Naziris, and the ola of behema is one of the korbanos of Tara, in order to shave on it for the Glachas Tara. Okay, but Omer. And what does he say? Im Tameh Hayisi. So if I was the one who was Tameh, the Chatas Mechovasi, then the Chatas is my Chova, and the Ola is just a voluntary offering. Okay. Im Tar Hayisi. But if I was Tahor, Ola Mechovasi, then the Ola is what I'm obligated to bring. The Chatas Besafek. And you see, the bird chatas is can be brought the safek and just obviously cannot be eaten by the kohanim. And what and it's and then you bring and it gets put aside in that little special section on the side of the ramp where they put the doubtful chatas off. Okay, and then he waits another 30 days. Well, maybe korban tara. And now he brings in whole korban tara, which is all the safek, and he says, "Im tameh hayisi." So if I was tameh, ha'ola harishana nadava v'zochava. So my first one was a voluntary one, and this is a chova. And im tara hayisi, and if I was tara originally, ha'ola harishana chova v'zon nadava, and this one now is in nadava. And the rest of my korbanos also are brought now misafek. Okay. So this is Ben Zoma's. Ben Zoma's thing is, look, you're not going to find somebody to agree to go along with us. So just bring korbanos b'safek. Rabbi Yeshua says, but that's the problem. Amar Rabbi Yeshua. Nimtza zeh maybe korbanos of the chatzayim. But then what he's doing now. So what he did was at the beginning, after 30 days, all he did was he brought a chatas and an ola, and the rest of the shlamim and the he brings an ola, shlamim, and the chatas. Okay, so the ola and the shlamim are effectively being delayed by 30 days when you should have we should have brought them together. And like, how can you? Says Rabbi Shua, how can you split the korbanos that he has to bring with 30 days in between? But nonetheless, but Chacham said, no, Ben Zoma's got it right. It's not an ideal situation. You're right. We shouldn't normally bring our sacrifices in different stages, but en brera, Ben Zoma's right. Where are you going to find somebody who's going to agree to go along with your show?
What happens if he finds somebody? Now this other guy agrees to do this. And he goes along. And in the middle of this whole thing, the first person who has a
don't make it more complicated than it already is.
Just what happens if he dies? Then what does this other guy have to do? He has to go find someone else on now.
That's fine, because he's not the second guy he doesn't have any personal fakers about himself. He just knows that he's got to be a Nazir at some point.
Right.
So if that's the case, then it actually makes it simpler, because now the guy who agreed to go along with it, he's going to come up to the end of 30 days. He's not sure. So he's not sure. Did he agree to be a Nazir immediately, or did he agree to be a Nazir after 30 days? So he'll be a Nazir for 60 days, right, which he had agreed to anyway. He was already up for that.
Right.
And at the end of 60 days, he'll bring his korbanos.
That's it. Okay. Sounds simple.
Okay. Nice and easy. All right. Now base gets worse. Base is shorter, but it's much worse. Okay. So first of all, before we start, we got to just talk some background about the concepts, because we're now mixing two different subjects. We've got the Nazir and we've got the Mitzorah. Okay. So the Nazir, as we know, if he is the Nazir will just refresh those concepts. If he becomes Tameh, then he has to go through Paraduma and get sprinkled and shave and bring Korban Atoma. Right. And then he carries on his next 30 days and brings the Korban Tara. Okay. Mitzorah. If you have somebody who becomes a Mitzorah and if he is muchlat, only if he's muchlat he has to bring Korban. So if he's not muchlat and he's just a hesker, he's just muskari, then once the coin purifies him, okay, he goes back to normal life and he doesn't bring a korban. There's no purification ritual. But if he's a muchlat, then he has to go through the shaving. He has to go through a shaving, and he has to come and so first of all, he has to be shaved once at the end of his muchlat period. Then he has to wait 7 days, and then he goes to mikveh again, or mayim chaim, I'm not sure, and then he purifies himself again, and then shaves himself again, and then brings his korbanos for the end of his tzaras. Okay, so now Mishnah base opens up with like a corner case of corner cases, and Nazir shehiyat tameh b'sapek umuchlat b'sapek. Doesn't get worse than this. Where he's a Nazir who is sapek tameh. We're not sure if he became tameh or not, and furthermore, he had a he somehow had a patch which he was not sure if he was muchlat or if it was just musga, and he's healed now.
Right.
And you say, "Oh, about what are the possibilities?" Well, you've got four possibilities. You've got was tahor was tameh, and you've got was muchlat was not muchlat in a 2x2 matrix.
We're muklat with
tzaras.
With tzaras, okay.
Okay. And remember, if he has tzaras, that overrides his. If he was muchlat with as a nazir, then his requirement to shave overrides his nazirus. Okay, so he does have to shave again, but as we just learned in the Mishnah recently, his days as a muchlat don't count towards his nazirus, but they also don't reset his nazirus. So let's just say he's got a 100-day nazirus, and he became a metzora in the middle of them. So he just stops counting for those days, and then he shaves, and as long as he's got 30 days left on his nazirus, he just carries on counting as from where he left off. As long as he's just got to be able to complete the 30 days. But now in our case over here, we have a serious problem. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to do this with Gati over here because this is a really, really complicated case. So the Nazir had undertaken an unspecified nazirus. He was doubtfully unclean and doubtfully muchlat. And he had to say, okay. So now another point I have to mention is that you know what a mechusar kippurim is mechusar kippurim. There are certain people who have to bring a korban before they're allowed to eat kodshim again, and the metzora is one of them.
Okay.
So the metzora is not allowed to eat kodshim until he's brought his kodshim, until he's brought his own korban again. Okay, which is not true of the Nazir. The Nazir has to bring his korbanos, whether for tumah or tara, but let's say he was he became tameh and he became tahor again. So now but he hasn't yet brought his korbanos. And a friend says, well, why don't you come and have some shlamim with me? I just I brought a korban. So normally you'd say, well, hold on a second, I haven't brought my korban atuma yet. It's okay. That's not okay. He's not called mechusar kippurim. Whereas a metzora in such a position is not allowed to eat kodshim until he's brought his korbanos. Okay. So he's called mechusar kippurim. All right. So back into our case. So now our case of the Nazir who's got the double sapek on him, he can eat kodshim after 60 days. Why? Because he has to cleanse himself. Okay, so from the fact that he's got these two sfekos, he does have to cleanse himself immediately because of the doubtful corpse-related uncleanness, but he's not permitted to shave immediately until completing 30 days of his nazirus, because maybe he was tahor. Okay, and if he's tahor, he's not allowed to shave. Okay, so he's got so either way. So let's say on the 3rd day of becoming a nazir, he gets this double. He has this double sapek. He's not sure if he became tameh or not. He's not sure if he's a metzora or not. Okay, but he can't. And now he's now clean. He's been through paraduma and he's finished his 7 days from his tzaras. Okay, but he can't shave yet because maybe he was a clean nazir. Okay? And therefore he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to shave during that time. Okay. So questionable, and also the questionable tzaras also doesn't override the nazirus. So even from the tzaras he can't shave because it's besapek. So now 30 days is up, and now he does a shave. So there are three doubts about the shaving. Okay, maybe he was a clean Nazir, and this is the shave, a regular tiglach hasatara, where he's just shaving from at the end of his Naziris. Okay, that's the happy part. Or maybe he was a Matzorah Muchlat. If he was a Matzorah Muchlat, in which case this shaving over here is the shaving for his tzaras. In which case he's got to count another 7 days. Okay, that's called Yimei Sofro. He counts another 7 days and shave again on the 7th day, and then he has to go and immerse himself and wait until sunset. He's got to have Harav Shemesh, and the next day he's got to bring his korbanos on the 8th day in order to be able to eat kodshim again, or else maybe this haircut was that he wasn't a Matzorah at all, but he was tamei because of the corpse. So maybe this is his tiglach hasatuma. So there are three possible ways that his haircut could have been. It could have been a regular tiglach hasatara on completing his naziris. It could have been a tiglachas from completing his tzaras, or it could have been a tiglachas from becoming tamei as a nazir. Okay, that's after 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, therefore, what does he have to do? He has to, so he has to now recount 30 days of Naziris in a state of cleanness. If this is his tumas, his tiglach hasatuma. Okay, so now he has to count another 30 days and shave a second time. Because maybe now he's still a Nazir. Okay. So now, the second time after another 30 days. All right, now, what happens if he was a Matzorah? This is his second tiglachas. Remember, Matzorah needs to shave twice. Once at the end, once he's finished, the nega is gone, and the second time at the end of 7 days. Well, he couldn't do it after 7 days because of his possible Nazir, so they had to wait 30 days instead of 7. So maybe this is just his second haircut after being purified as a Matzorah.
All right.
Okay. So on the next day, he's got to bring him his korban Matzorah. Okay, and then he's permitted to eat kodshim. Okay, so now after 60 days, he's allowed to eat kodshim, because for the first 60 days, there's still a possibility that he's a Matzorah who's mechus hakipurim. Okay. But he's still not allowed to drink wine or become tamei, because he requires another 2 shavings out of that, right? Maybe he was both tamei and the Matzorah Muchlat, and the tiglachas of the tzaras is not credited to him for the tiglachas atuma. So now he has to shave a third time. Why?
I'm really confused. We're in base over here, and I'm confused because it says here.
I'm reading you the commentary.
Okay.
You see, this is the
a Nazir who was in doubt whether he was tamei, and in doubt also whether he was a confirmed Matzorah, may eat.
Maybe I think what we need to do is I might need to do a whiteboard over here.
All right. After 60 days.
Okay.
But then it says, and drink wine. He can eat kodshim after 60 days, drink wine, and contaminate himself with the tumor of the dead after 120 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because the affliction of saras overrides shaving for Naziris when the former is certain, but when it's doubtful, it does not override it.
Right. Okay. So that's the express words of the Mishna. But what I'm explaining to you is what's between the lines, and this is the super complicated part. Okay. So I'm going to first of all draw a little matrix over here. Okay. Okay. All right. So there are 4 possibilities that he is tamei, that he's tahor. Okay. That he's muchlat, that he's not. Okay. So, all right. So these are our four possibilities. All right. Inside this, inside this section over here, if he's tahor and not mukhlat, so this is the happy path. Okay. The smiley face over here, that's the happy path. Then he's just stammer Nazir, and at the end of 30 days, what does he need over here? He just needs 30 days, and he does a tiglachas hatara. Okay, so you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to make different symbols over here. Let me just erase the Control Z. Because this is okay. Never mind. So I'll just do symbols over here. Make stamps. Okay. So this is the happy one with a tick. Okay. And this over here we'll call where he's not that, but he became tame. Forget about the implications of the of what the marks mean. I'm just using them as random symbols over here. Question. Okay. So those are our four symbols: the tick, the question, the X, and the heart. Okay. So now we're going to have a timeline over here as well. Right. There from 0 to 120, 60, and 30, and 30. Okay, so those are our days. Let's just get some text into here. Okay, so this is 0. This is 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. Okay. So now his haircut. If he is at the end of 30 days, this, wait, no, that's not a stamp. This over here means that his haircut over here is his haircut after 30 days is a regular tiglachas hatara. So I'm going to put text over here that is Tara. Okay, that's it. Tiglachas hatara. Finished. Is finished. Okay. There's another possibility that he was in fact so if he was not mukhlat at all, then he's doing his tiglachas hatara and he's finished. If, however, he was mukhlat, right? So I'm going to get my two other stamps over here. If he was mukhlat, or if it doesn't matter whether he was tamei or not. If he was mukhlat, that's going to come first. Okay, and that is this guy over here. So this possibility. So if it's one of these two, then we're going to have to say that this is actually his first haircut of Matzorah. And the third possibility is this one over here, where this is actually his tumah, his tiglachas tumah. Okay, you see that this is after the first 30 days.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just going to pull this a little bit closer. Yeah, so this is tiglachas tumah, and that's his tiglachas hatara, and his job is done. Okay, so that's if all this is so that's on his first suffix. So there are three possibilities of what his first haircut is. Okay. Then after 60 days, we got another possibility. He can't shave again, because if this is his first haircut of a Matzorah, then really he should be shaving again 6 days later. But he can't, because maybe this is the situation that he wasn't mukhlat, and he can't and he's now just finished his korban atumah, and now he's not really a Nazir now again until for another 30 days. So now he has to have another haircut after 60 days. The first possibility, of course, is that he was not mukhlat, and then this is just a haircut for no reason. Okay, so the tick situation, there's nothing else to talk about, because he doesn't have any other tiyuvim. But it's possible that this is now his second haircut of Matzorah. So we're going to take these two possibilities again and put them here and mix. And now this is the Control Z. Select this and copy paste. I'll just put more text again. And this is the second haircut. Oh, sorry. Okay. Or else, what's possible is now this is actually his tahara, and he's finished. Oops. That's the. Boom. So you've got two possibilities over here. Either this is the second haircut for Matzorah, or else it's his tiglachas hatara, and now his job is done. You're not making it here. Are you okay?
I'm okay, I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to understand it all, what I'm doing.
Okay. So the second possibility is now that he's only just finished his second haircut of Matzorah. Okay. So now let's say he's finished his second haircut of Matzorah, he purifies himself, and only now can he actually begin his third period of his period of Nazirus.
He did 30, he did the other 30, and now he's up to 90.
Okay, so at this point, and he can also bring his korbanos.
At 90 or 60?
At 60, he can bring his korbanos, because now for sure he's not mechusa kippurim anymore, because no matter what happens, he's done with his tzaras, and now he can start keeping his and now he can eat the korbanos. But if he was a mukhlat, then those days didn't count for him at all in his nazirus. So now he's got to start keeping his nazirus over here for 30 days. Okay, and at the end of the 30 days, now he can keep his. Now he can have another haircut. But wait, he hasn't yet had his hair. If it turns out that he was actually tameh at the time, then we have to put another stamp over here. He's got to have a haircut over here, because if he was tameh at the time that he became a mukhlat, then he now is just doing his tiglachas atuma now. But if he was finished with his, but if he wasn't tameh at all, then this over here is his tiglachas atara, and he's finished. Okay, so then this over here is tiglachas atara, and he's done with his nazirus. But it's possible that he's now only just fulfilled his tiglachas hatuma, and now only can he keep his 30 days of nazirus lechatchila, and at the end of this, for sure he brings his tara.
And he has to go through the paraduma again.
So this is how. So basically in the worst case, if you look at it this way, in the worst case over here, he has to have 4 haircuts. If he's a mukhlat and he was tameh, he has to have 4 haircuts. Why? Because one for two for tzaras, one for tiglachas atuma, and one for tiglachas atara. In this case over here, he only has to bring 2. Okay, because if he was mukhlat, sorry, he has to bring 3, because he's going to have to bring I'll just put the number of korbanos that he has to bring, the number of haircuts he has to have. That's actually I've just realized that that's actually a good number of haircuts.
Yeah.
So for this one he needs 3 haircuts, right? For this one he needs 4 haircuts. For this one, he needs 1, and for this one, he needs 2. Okay, he needs 1 haircut only because he's just finishing his Naziris. At the end of his Naziris, he has a Tiglach Hasatara and he's done. Okay, if he was Tameh, however, he needs to bring 2, 1 for Tiglach Hasatuma, 1 for Tiglach Hasatara. If he was mukhlat, he has to bring 3. Why? 1 for the regular Naziris and 2 for the tzaras. And if he was tamei as well, then he has to bring 4. So that's what we see in this timeline over here. That if he was in case 1 with the tick, he only has to bring 1. He only has to have 1 haircut. But in the other 2 cases, if he had to bring 2, then he's finished over here. If he had to bring 3, then he's finished over here. And if he had to bring 4, then he's finished over here. But in any case, he has to bring 4 because of he has to do 4 haircuts, and they have to be 30 days apart, each one of them, because each one could be for something relating to Taras, not to Naziris, which requires 30 days. Yes, it's a bumpy situation. It's a very, very difficult Mishnah. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this.
Yeah, save that because then I could look at the Mishnah and see if I can follow this along all the way. Okay,
cool. So we're gonna leave this Mishnah because in any case, otherwise we're never going to finish, and I've got to get to gym. Okay. Well, fortunately, Mishnah Aleph of Perek Tes is a lot more simple. Okay. Hagoyim ein lahem naziris. So non-Jews do not have a concept of naziris. Nashim v'avadim yesh lahem naziris. But women and slaves can become nazirim. Chomer b'nashim v'avadim. There's a stringency of women over slaves. Shehu kofes abdo v'ena kofes ishto, because he can force his slave to violate a naziris, but he cannot compel his wife to violate a naziris unless he did hafara. Right. He heard it. So if he forgot to do hafara, or she did it in such whatever okay, so yeah, so he decided a day too late that he wanted to revoke his wife's naziris. He cannot stop her now. Okay, whereas a slave, he can stop the slave. He can tell the slave, I want you to drink wine. I want you to be able to work strong, and wine gives you koach and whatever. So you must drink wine. So and he's got that right.
If he revoke for his slave, the slave goes free.
No, the slave doesn't go free. The slave doesn't go free. He just. But you do have a case that's going. There's a case that's going to come up now. Where what happens if he releases the slave? Okay. So now, but there's a stringency of slaves over women. Okay, we just said the stringency of women over slaves. Okay, Shu mefer nidre ishto, but he can do hafara on his wife's neder. Be'enu mefer nidre avdo, but he cannot annul the slave's neder. Okay, so what happens? So the difference is that if he tells his wife, he has his wife making a naziris, and he says ani mefer, it's gone. And even if he divorces her that day, she has no naziris because he revoked it while he was her husband, and it's not binding on her even after he divorces her. Okay. However, the slave takes in a naziris, and the adon says, "I'm sorry, I'm not letting you become a nazir while you're on reporting to me." Okay. So then the slave is not allowed to keep his naziris, but as soon as the master discharges the slave and he becomes a free man, okay, if the slave goes free now, so now it's been waiting in suspense for him, and now that he's a free man, he's now obligated to keep his naziris. Okay, whereas the woman has no such thing. Once it's been annulled for her by her husband, it never comes back. Now, what happens if the slave flees? Okay, he runs away from the master. So the master had told him, "You cannot be a nazir," and the slave says, "How can you do this to me?" And he runs away, and he's no longer working for his adon. Does he have to keep his naziris, or is he still under the master's orders to break his naziris? Okay, so Rabbi Meir says no. He's got to keep on obeying his master, and he may not drink the wine. Rabbi Yossi says he may drink. Okay. And the Gemara explains the reason, because according to Rabbi Meir, we penalize him to fulfill his Nazirus. Okay, so that he'll have charata and go back to his master, who will compel him to violate his vow, and then he'll be able to drink wine again. And Rabbi Yossi says, no, he's permitted to drink even without his master being around, because wherever he is, he's still considered to be his master's property, and he's prohibited from conducting himself with Nazirus, so that he shouldn't be thin and weak when he ultimately does return to his master. Okay, that's the Mishnah today. It was a mean day today. Sorry, there were two really nice Mishnahs, and base was a monster.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Daled Vav.
Man may declare his son a Nazir, but a woman may not declare her son a Nazir. And how are the offerings treated? If the son shaves or if relatives have shaved him, if he protested or his relatives protested, he had an animal set aside, the sin offering dies, the burnt offering is offered as a burnt offering, and the peace offering is offered as a peace offering. But it is eaten for one day and does not require bread. If he has unspecified funds, they go to voluntary offerings. Specified funds, the money for the sin offering of specified funds, the money goes for the sin offering, goes to the Dead Sea. One may not benefit from it, and the rules governing the misuse of sacrificed items do not apply. So there's no Me'ilah here at all then. Is that what it's saying?
It's what?
The misuse, there's no Me'ilah.
There's no din of Me'ilah. You're not allowed to use it for personal purposes, but if he did use it for personal purposes, he doesn't have to bring a korban.
With the money for the burnt offering, they bring a burnt offering, and the rules governing the misuse of sacred items apply. With the money for the peace offering, they bring a peace offering, but it is eaten for one day, and it does not require bread. A man can shave his head using his father's Nazirus funds, but a woman cannot shave her head using her father's Nazirus funds. How is this? Somebody whose father was a Nazir and had set aside unspecified funds for his Nazirus and died, the son said, I am a Nazir on condition that I will shave with my father's funds. Rabbi Yossi says it goes for voluntary offerings, and this one cannot shave using his father's Nazirus funds. Who is the one who shaves using his father's Nazirus funds? Someone who is a Nazir together with his father, and his father set aside unspecified funds for his Nazirus and died. This is the one who shaves using his father's Nazirus funds. Okay. Beit Shammai says erroneous consecration is nevertheless consecration. Beis Hillel says it is not consecration. How is this? If he said the black ox that emerges from my house first shall be sacred, and a white one emerged. Beit Shammai says it is sacred, but Beis Hillel says it is not sacred. Okay. You have to go?
Yep.
Okay.
Nadarim, hey, Bess, do you have to go?
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm glad we didn't try and do these Mishnahs on the day before Adav and Shafres.
Okay. Hey, Bet. If someone from the street was prohibited by a netter to benefit from one of them, he may not enter the yard. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says he may say to him, I'm entering into your partner's property, I'm not entering into yours. Someone prohibited by a netter to benefit from another who owns a bathhouse or an olive press which are being leased in the city, if he has an interest in them, it is forbidden. If he does not and he does not retain an interest in them, it is permitted. If someone says to another, come on to your house with respect to my entering it, or you're filled with respect to my buying it, and he died or sold it to another person, it's permitted. If he said, Konam, this house with respect to my entering, or this field with respect to my buying it, and he died or sold it to another, it is forbidden. If one says, I am to you Karam, the person prohibited by the netter is forbidden. You are to me Karam, the person making the netter is forbidden. I am to you and you are to me, both are forbidden, both are permitted in something of the pilgrims from Babylon, but are forbidden in something of their city. Okay. If one opens his barrel and begins using his dough for festive meals, Rabbi Yehuda says he may finish selling after the festival, but the comments say he may not finish. Once the festival was over, they would remove everything to facilitate the cleansing of the temple courtyard. If the day after the festival was Friday, they would not remove the vessels in deference to the honor of the Sabbath. Rabbi Yehuda says not even if the day after the festival is Thursday, because the Kohanim were not free. How did they go about removing everything for the cleaning of the temple courtyard? They immersed the vessels that were in the temple after they had said to them, be careful not to touch the table and the menorah, lest you contaminate. All the vessels that were used in the temple had second and third replacements, so that the first ones became contaminated, they would bring the second ones to replace them. All the vessels that were used in the temple require immersion except for the golden altar and the copper altar because they are like earth. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, and it could come and say because they are plated. Hadran
Hadran
Allah.
Allah, Maseches Chagiga, Hadran Allah, Seder Moed. We'll be back in Seder Moed soon enough.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to read it now, right? No.
Okay, vamos.
Vamos. Okay. No. 15 women released their co-wives and their co-wives' co-wives from the Kalitza and from Yibam ad infinitum. These are the following: a man's daughter, a daughter's daughter, a son's daughter, his wife's daughter, her son's daughter, and a daughter's daughter, his mother-in-law, and his mother-in-law and his mother-in-law's mother and father-in-law's mother, his maternal sister, mother's sister, wife's sister, maternal brother's wife, the wife of his non-contemporaneous brother, and his daughter-in-law. These released from their co-wives and their co-wives' co-wives from Kalitza and from Yibam ad infinitum. If any of these died, refused, or was divorced, or was found to be an aloneness, no co-wives are permitted. However, one cannot say of his mother-in-law or his mother-in-law's mother or father-in-law's mother that they were found to be an aloneness or that they refused. How did they release?
No, that's it. Just one Mishna.
One, right, because we did two. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And we are on to the Quorum. Okay. If one set aside his Bikurim and they were plundered or they decayed, were stolen or lost, and they were deemed unclean, he brings others in their stead, but does not recite. And the others are not liable to the added fifth. And if they become unclean in the temple court, he scatters them and does not recite. And whence do we know that he is responsible for them until he brings them to the Temple Mount? Because it is written, the first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. And this teaches that he is responsible for them until he brings them to the Temple Mount. If he brought of one kind and recited, then it brought of another kind, he does not recite. And these bring and recite from Shavuos till Sukkot, from the 7 species, from the fruits of the mountains, from the dates of the valleys, from the oil olives, and from the beyond the Jordan. Rabbi Yossi Hagili says one does not bring Bikurim from beyond the Jordan, since it is not a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay. And we have para. We may consecrate, may katos in all types of vessels, even in dung vessels, stone vessels, and clay vessels. And we may concentrate mekatos in a boat. We cannot consecrate mekatos in the walls of a vessel, nor in the bottom of a makat, nor in the cover of a barrel, nor in, no, that's wrong, page skips. Nor in the palms of one's hands, because we cannot draw water from mekatos, for mekatos, nor consecrate mekatos, nor sprinkle mekatos, except with a vessel. Nothing with a sealed cover protects the contents from tumah besides vessels, and nothing is protected from being rendered tummy in an earthenware vessel besides vessels. A porter's pot of clay is qualified, and Rabbi Yossi disqualifies it. And regarding a chicken's egg, Meir and Rabbi Yehuda qualify, but the sages disqualify it. And regarding a trough carved in a rock, we cannot draw water from it, from mekatos, from it, or nor consecrate mekatos in it, or sprinkle mekatos from it, and it does not require a sealed cover, and it does not require a mikvah. If it was a vessel and one attached it to the ground with glasses, one may draw water for mekatos from it and consecrate mekatos to the sprinkle mekatos from it, and it requires a sealed cover, and it disqualifies a mikvah. If the bottom of the trough it was perforated, and he plugged the perforation with a rag, the water inside the trough is invalid because it is not encircled by a vessel. If one perforated the vessel with a side and plugged the perforation with a rag, the water inside it is valid since it is encircled by a vessel. If one made a rim of clay for the trough and the water went there, it is invalid. But if the rim and is strong enough that he can be sacred, that it can be carried with this trough, the water is valid. Okay. And we have Zavachim. Above. The total offering of the Nazir's ram are offerings of lesser holiness. Their slaughter may be anywhere in the courtyard, and their blood requires 2 applications. They are equivalent of 4, and they may be eaten throughout the clay of the city of Yerushalayim by anyone prepared in any manner for a day and a night until midnight. The portions separated from them are similar to them, except for the separated portions may be eaten only by the Kohanim, their wives, children, and slaves. The Shlomin offerings are offerings of lesser holiness. Their slaughter may be anywhere in the courtyard, and their blood requires 2 applications. They that are equivalent of 4, and they may be eaten throughout the city by anyone prepared in any manner for 2 days and for 1 night. The portions separated from them are similar to them, except for they are sacred portions. They may be eaten only by the Kohanim, their wives, and their slaves. Last one is the Bekor offering, the Misa offering, and the Pesach offering are offerings of lesser holiness. Their slaughter may be anywhere in the city courtyard, and the blood requires 1 application. But he must apply it opposite the base. They're different in the manner of consumption. The Bekor offering is eaten only by Kohanim, and the Misa offering is eaten in anyone, and they may be eaten throughout the city by anyone. Prepared in any manner for 2 days and 1 night, and the Pesach offering may be eaten only by night. By night, it may be eaten only until midnight, and it may be eaten only for those registered for it, and it may be eaten only when roasted.
Right. So that last clause is the reason why in every previous Mishnah it said we keep saying before ma'achal can may be prepared in any way. And this, and finally, when it comes to the Pesach, we say, okay, here's the one where it has to be prepared.
Right,
Roasted. Everything else you can cook however you want it. Okay, we're done.
Wow, my head is splitting from that other one.
That was a rough day. And
I know. Have a great day. Enjoy. I'll see you tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.